my name is Rafael Forsaca. I'm here with Mr. Ashley Wallace. And today what we want to do is explain the whole process from the very beginning. So from the moment you get admitted to a program until you actually arrive to the US. So we can start the presentation right now. You can move to the next slide. So before we define what our office does, I think it's very important to define first what is CBIS, because you're going to hear this word a lot in the future in case that you come to UTSA. So what is CBIS? CBIS is a student exchange visitor information system. And basically, this is a database used by US Department of Homeland Security, or DHS. It maintains information about international students and their dependents, things such as addresses, program of study, financials, and degree level. CBIS is the agency that creates the I-20. Moving on. That being said, what is International Student Services? Basically, our office job is on your behalf. We report or inform CBIS of these changes that might occur right now or in the future. So we also advise we advise international students on academic and personal issues as they relate to federal immigration regulations. Also, we provide extensive programming and networking opportunities for international students. So basically, we are that department that helps you to communicate any changes or any updates to the Department of Homeland Security. Okay, next slide. So before we start, I do want to mention how the road to get your I-20 or get your visa to arrive to the US goes. So first, you get admitted to a graduate program. The next step is we get in contact with you, or how we call it, initial contact or invitation. Then we submit the I-20, you submit the application for I-20, then we process your I-20, you pay the CBIS fee, and then you attend your visa appointment. So let's start from the beginning of getting the initial contact from our department. You can go to the next slide. So the initial contact from ISSS, you will receive an email invitation from international.services@utsa.edu. This is going to be an invitation to our new student portal powered by Teradata, in which you will enter the information and upload the documentation that is needed in order for us to process your CBIS number that will be part of your I-20. It's very important that you understand that you must demonstrate that you have enough funding to cover an academic year in order for us to issue the I-20. Out-of-state rate is approximately $39,000, tuition fees, living expenses, health insurance, and books. It's a summary of how much university can cost. In-state rate can go up to $26,000. I do want to mention there are a few things in order to be eligible for in-state rate. International students are eligible to get in-state rate once they get either a $1,000 scholarship or above, or for those students that are from Mexico, you have the opportunity of Border County. The Border County program is a program that is handled through one-stop enrollment, and you can always explore that option in their website or contacting that office. But in case that you get approved for Border County program, or you obtain a $1,000 scholarship, you automatically follow into the in-state rate, which, as I mentioned, is around $26,000. Of course, keep in mind that actual expenses may vary depending on the college. So business, engineering, and sciences, those are colleges that might have different overall rates, depending on tuition. Can go to the next slide. So the form I-20 issuance, the I-20 will be emailed to you. Right now, scanned I-20s are legal to be used for visa processes. There are some exceptions, and if this is the case, you can always arrange an issue request with our office to send the physical I-20. It's very important to always review that I-20 once you get it. That way, if there's any corrections, we can make them. So you will receive the scanned version of the I-20 and the instructions to pay what we call the CVIS fee, and then schedule your visa appointment. Email will include student's personal CVIS number, which can be used to schedule your F-1 visa appointment at your home country. It is recommended not to book a flight until the visa has been issued by the U.S. Department of State. So it is always important, just because we are aware that there might be delays in embassies, that first make sure you get your F-1 visa and then you book your flight. Moving on. So this is a screenshot of how our student request portal looks like. So you have different options on top, the 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So this is the initial process to obtain your I-20. On the Welcome to UTSA portion, you will see a lot of information regarding what are the documents that you will be using through this process. There is a question for those students that are already in the US and want to transfer to UTSA, so transferring their CVIS record to UTSA. I'm gonna move to the next slide, because then we're gonna go into each of these steps. Okay, so the personal information. For personal information, most of the information generates from our university at the moment that you submit your application. However, it's always important that you review your first, last name, date of birth, gender, city of birth, and country of birth, as well as country of citizenship. You will have the opportunity to upload 2 documents in this one. The acceptance letter, which can be the email that you receive from UTSA. You can just create a PDF, upload it here. Same with your passport ID page. So we just need one page, which is the one that has your photo and your information. You're also gonna be adding dependent information, so dependent passport, name, and all this information for your dependents in case that you have one or more. So moving on. Then we go to the financial details section. In this one is the place where you're gonna upload the confirmation of financial resources, which is a form that you will receive by our office, and it's here. There's a link in the portal to access it. So you'll be uploading this form here, and also you're gonna be uploading bank documents, any assistantship or scholarship that you obtain, and as well as if you have multiple supporters or sponsors, you can upload more than one of the CFR forms. Moving forward. So now you uploaded all that information, submit the documents, you're gonna go to this portion of the website. So of course, main thing, make sure you click submit the I-20 request, and then you want to read the next steps, information regarding CVIS fee payment and scheduling your visa appointment. From the moment that you submit the I-20 request, allow our office to work on your I-20 2 to 3 business days normally is what it will take us to review all your documents and process the I-20. As I mentioned, this part of the portal is important because you will obtain essential information on how to pay the CVIS fee. Okay, we can move forward. So now I'm gonna go in detail of how the I-20 looks like and what information is important. So the very top of the I-20 will have what we call the student information section. This section will contain your SEVIS ID number, which is the one that starts with an N. And then you have your last name, given name, you have information about your city of birth, date of birth, and one important thing is the form issue reason, which is at the very bottom of this one. This one shows continued attendance. However, if you're a new student, you will get one that says initial attendance. Initial attendance means that this I-20 was made in order for you to request your visa appointment. So basically it says you got an I-20, but you still need to get your visa and arrive to the US. Okay, we can move forward. The middle section of your I-20 will show essential information about the school. So it will show the school address, the school name, the SEVIS school code, which is a number that is important, or a code, because at the moment you're gonna pay the SEVIS fee, you will be adding this number in the application. It will show your educational level. It will indicate your major, and also very important, the program start and end date. We can move forward. Another section closer to the bottom, we're gonna have the financial information. In here, there's gonna be that summary that you will see on the CFR form, as well as the information that you provided. So we're gonna put the details on the information, and then add, if you submitted personal funds, that will be indicated here. If it's family funds or scholarships, they will be indicated on your I-20 as well. Can move forward. Finally, the last portion on your I-20 will be the signature section. So you should have a signature from the DSO. So it can be me, it can be Mr. Ashley. The DSO signature confirms that the I-20 was created and signed by the advisor. But also always make sure that even if you get a scanned version of your I-20, you want to print it and sign it at the bottom, right over your name. So we can move forward. So now I'm going to pass it on to Mr. Ashley, who is going to explain the process of the visa interview and how to prepare for it.
Thank you so much, Rafael, for the nice introduction. So the visa interview is a very, very important part of the journey to coming to the US. Very important that you follow the instructions that you received in the email about paying the embassy fees and also paying that SEVIS fee. Without doing those, you will not get a visa. So it's very important to do those in a proactive manner. Now that you have paid the embassy fees, you've got your appointment, you're excited to go to the US Embassy or consulate, what are the documents that you need to bring with you? It's very important to bring the appointment confirmation. The embassy will want to see that. Also, it's very important to have your passport, because the passport will be where the visa will be stamped. Also, it is important to bring your passport style photos. There are instructions on the Department of State website about the size. I believe it's 2x2, typical US style passport photos, because those photos will be what they input into the visa. Also, you need the fee receipt for the SEVIS fee. So that SEVIS I-901 fee, the $350 fee for F-1s. Again, very important to print that receipt number, that receipt notice, because the embassy, again, will just confirm everything multiple times. Birth certificate is good as well. It's just as another source of information about you. Of course, that I-20 that we said that we would either scan an email to you, or if you preferred a physical copy, the copy that we express mail to you. It's very important when you print that I-20, if it's a scanned version, make sure you print it in color, because the embassy is going to need to see Rafael's signature or my signature in blue ink. And also when you sign it, again, blue ink. Always, anything related to immigration, it's very important to always use a blue pen. Then it's really important to bring your financial documents as well. The embassy will need to see your financials just to verify that everything that we input on the I-20 matches what you actually have as well for your financial support. Very important to have those documents in English. If you are unable to get those in English, it's a good idea to find a translation services in your home country to have that done prior to going to the embassy. The English proficiency, well, we actually indicate on your I-20 that you're English proficient. So that's not something that you need to really worry about at the moment. The embassy will not be really checking that. And then it's a good idea to have transcripts. So if you have attended high school or if you've attended other universities, it's a good idea to have those transcripts just in case the embassy wants to verify your information. Also, they'll want to verify that the major that you're picking at UTSA is kind of in line with what you have done at previous universities if you're looking to transfer some of that information. Okay, we can go to the next slide. The embassy official who's going to be conducting the interview basically will ask a few questions, very simple questions, and below are some examples. I'll cover these. The typical visa interview lasts anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes. Anything that goes beyond 5 minutes usually means that you have provided information that was not relevant. And so now you've basically intrigued the embassy official to inquire about additional information. What we recommend, and we tell all of our students, the best approach to the visa interview is to be calm, polite, answer the questions that they ask you. Don't provide additional information. Don't share plans for the future. It's because that could actually complicate the embassy review of your request. The typical questions that they're going to ask is, well, why do you want to come and study in the United States? And for most of you, that would be, well, UTSA is a reputable university. There's a particular program that intrigued you. There's particular faculty members that you want to work with. So things like that will show that you have done your research, that you have really identified the school that you want to attend to. And also, why do you want to study that degree? And what I would recommend is when you're talking to the embassy official, the key is to mention that you're coming as an F-1, which is an academic visa. The intent is to come to the US, get your degree, and then return home. So you're taking your American earned degree, we'll use that degree in your home country to find a better job opportunity. So that's what we encourage our students to share is the plan is to come get your degree and actually then return home. Because it is a non-immigrant visa, there's no immigration intent. Any kind of information about future plans, such as working in the United States or potentially applying for permanent residency, you don't want to mention those things because that now has opened up a whole world of different questions that the embassy may ask and could lead to a visa denial because now you have indicated alternative intent. They may also ask what other universities you apply to, and not always, but sometimes they will. And be honest, if you applied to 15 different universities, that's okay. But when you're using the I-20 that's issued by UTSA, you need to make it clear that UTSA is the school that you want to attend. Next slide, please. And just a few tips on the actual visa interview as well. If your English is something that you're nervous about, I would recommend practicing before you go to the visa interview. So if you have some friends or family that also speak some English, it's good to practice. Be concise, calmly answer every question. Again, don't overshare or volunteer unnecessary information. Just answer what they ask you. It's always important to dress professionally. So if you're dressed professionally, that also sets the tone that you are someone that is taking this seriously. You really are motivated and want to get the visa to go to the United States. And again, what I mentioned before, be prepared to answer questions about your future. They will ask questions, and that's where you need to be clear that the intent for you is to come to the US, get your F-1 visa, attend university, graduate, and return home. Nothing else. Again, do not mention working in the United States after graduation or changing visa status, because that opens up alternative intent. And it's always a good idea, when we say practice, 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 practice makes perfect. write down some of these answers before you go and practice your answers. There's nothing wrong with doing that. There's nothing wrong with being prepared. It's better to be prepared than be surprised. And it's very important to show that you have ties to your home country. The most frequent reason for visa denial is for failure to demonstrate ties to your home country. And what that means is that if you don't have clear ties to your home country, US immigration officials may think that you're looking to move to the United States permanently. So it's important to mention, if you own a home or if your family's all living in your home country, be clear about that and share that information. And again, typical visa length is about visa interview length is less than 5 minutes. So just answer those questions, don't overshare, and you should be fine. And we will always help you as well. If you have any questions before the visa interview or you want to have some additional information, our office is happy to answer those questions as well. Next slide, please. And I believe this is where I hand it back over to Rafael.
Thank you, Ashley. All right, so you got your I-20, you complete that process, you pay the CVS fee, you went to your visa appointment, did the visa interview, got your visa. Perfect. What is the next step? Basically, the next step is arriving to UTSA. So it is very important to understand that students are permitted to enter in the US up to 30 days prior the program start date listed on your I-20. We're planning for those fall students of 2022. That will be August 15th. That means that you can enter as early as 30 days before that date. Of course, students are encouraged to address any other holds. Not all holds are going to be from our office. There are other departments that might be involved in holds that you might have to clear before you register for classes. So student health services hold, ELAB holds, etc. The International Student Service and Scholar Services will be addressing the international hold. That hold will be moved from the moment we process your I-20, will be moved to the beginning of classes. That way you can register for classes before they start. One thing that is important once you arrive in the US is completing immigration checking in our student portal. So we're gonna move to the next slide and I'm gonna talk a little bit about that immigration checking process. So the immigration checking process happens at the moment that you are in the US. So make sure that you are inside the US at the moment that you do this process, because there are some documentation and information that we need that you can only obtain at the moment that you are here. As soon as you land in the US, you will see that your portal changed to the check-in stage, which means that the only request, one of the few requests that you will have in our portal will be immigration checking. I strongly recommend you to take a look on the personal program information. That way you make sure that all information that our office has is correct, but then you're gonna click on number 3, which is student request portal. So we move to the next slide. And it's on this one where you're gonna select immigration checking. There are other options, of course, depending on what you wanna do with our office. But of course, immigration checking will be the priority once you land in the US. So we move to the next one. So in this request, immigration checking, the process means that you arrive and you enter as an F-1 student. What our office does is we review the information that you provide once you enter, and then we complete CVS registration that confirms you as an F-1 visa holder in the US. So the information that is necessary is the visa status. So you will get that visa status once you enter. You will put if you are an F-1, J-1, etc. You're gonna put the date you arrive, and you're gonna provide your US physical address. In terms of the documents that you will be uploading, you're gonna upload the the ID page of your passport, the scanned visa page, your I-94, and the signed I-20. Okay, we move forward. So just to finish, I want to mention a few documents that are very important once you are in the US. The main 3 documents besides your I-20 are going to be your passport, which is your official identification and must be valid all the time that you are here. The I-94, which is the entry and departure record while in the US. This means that you get one at the moment you enter the US, and you will use it for the check-in process. You always want to review the information and make sure that you were admitted as an F-1 student, and also the expiration says DS. Also, the visa. So the visa can always be seen as the key to enter the US. So it must be valid just at the moment that you enter the US. If your visa expires while you are in the US, but your I-20 still has time and you are attending classes, you should be fine. You don't have to be alarmed for the expiration of your visa unless you are outside the US, because at the moment you're gonna enter the US, again, you do need to renew it. So we move forward. Now, I wanna take this time to just make a quick reminder, and you will get a lot of information about this in the future once you get your F-1 visa, is about enrollment. So it is a requirement that all F-1 students are full-time enrolled in the university. That counts for fall and the spring semester. So if you are an undergrad student, that will be 12 credit hours. For master and PhD students, that will be 9 credit hours. And you are required to have in-person classes. So we move on. A big exception of it is summer. So summer is optional for international students as long as it's not your first semester. So if your first semester is spring or fall, then summer will be optional. That means that you can either go home and spend the summer at your home country, you can travel, or you can stay here and you are not required to enroll in classes, and that will not affect your immigration status. And that's what we have for today in terms of the presentation. So we can see if we have any questions. We are happy to answer them.
How long does it take to receive an I-20 after completing the application?
Normally will take 2 to 3 business days. So depending, of course, of how busy the office is, but that is normally our processing time. 2 to 3 business days, and we scan the I-20 to you.
What happens if my visa arrives after the semester starts? Do I need to wait for another semester, the next semester?
Technically, students have 60 days from the start date in order to be here and complete immigration checking. Of course, it's not recommended to wait that long to arrive to the US, but I will say as long as you obtain your visa and you speak with the professors and make sure that you let them know that you might arrive a little bit late, it should not be an issue. The main thing is that you have time to register for classes.
What if my F-1 visa is denied? What can I do to try again? And what is the process?
Well, basically you will have 2 options. If the visa is denied, you don't have enough time to arrive to the US in time for the semester that you got admitted, there are 2 ways to take it. Either you can defer your admission, you have to contact the graduate admissions to request the deferment of your admission to the next semester. And then you contact our office to defer the I-20. If it's the next semester, you don't need to provide new financials or anything like that. We basically do that as a courtesy because the financials that you provide should be good for 6 months. So we just move the dates on the I-20 Most of the time, there might be some exceptions, but most of the time, if you don't get approved for the F-1 visa, that doesn't mean you cannot try again. So my best recommendation in that case is think about how the interview went, what do you say, and what came back as follow-up questions, and kind of reframe the way that you're expressing yourself at the moment that you go to the visa interview. But most likely, you still get a chance to do it again.
Now that some universities are remote, can I take classes back in my home country?
That's a very good question, because that is the second thing that I didn't mention answering the previous one. You still have an option of enrolling online and keep that same admission that you had and you enroll online for that semester. If there is delays on the embassy, or you just weren't able to get a visa appointment or got denied for your visa, you can enroll online. And the only thing that you have to do is request the deferment of the I-20. Basically, getting an F-1 immigration status is to study inside the US. So if you're studying from your home country online, you don't need an immigration status because you are in your home country. That means that you can enroll online from your home country. But I do want to say that I know there's a lot of current times got people very nervous about the process. And of course, there's a lot of online classes that are available. However, probably in the near future, we're going to go back to most of the classes being in person. So if you're planning to work on a degree completely online, you really have to check on that degree, because most likely at some point you will have to be here in the US.
What is the process of transferring to UTSA if I'm already attending another institution in the US?
If you already have your F-1 visa and a CVS record that is active and you're already in the US, there is a two-step process. So that process that I mentioned before about the I-20, it's going to be mostly the same. But if you remember on the first slide about the request portal, there was a question about transferring in. So if you're a transferring in student, so transferring your CVS record, you still need to provide the financials, the passport, and all of that information. However, you start arranging a transfer out process with your current university. In our portal, we'll ask you those questions and ask you for contact information at your current university, so they can approve that you are on F-1 status and is active and you've been in compliance with your immigration status. So you do that portion, upload the documents, and you schedule the transfer out with that university to be transferred to us.